What's good, YouTube? I'm joined by Krause, and today we have two deck lists from him that he used in the Zodiac tournament to get to the finals, where he only lost by DQ when his apartment's internet crapped out on him and DC'd him 3 times.
Yep, king of the DCs today, but it's all good.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Alright, so we have a Monarch profile and a Cliffort profile that a lot of the duelists asked for, and the first up is going to be your extra deck Monarchs that used several copies of Trade-In. How did you come up with this deck list, and let's just go through the options real quick since we have 2 deck lists to get to.
Gotcha. Honestly, the trade-ins were just a big idea to try to fix the problem that, like, the gap that was left over when Chicken Game was banned, that the consistency issues a lot of having, and I did that with my... honestly, the Domain Monarch deck running 3 trade-ins. So I took that same idea to modify it because I didn't want to run Domain in top 4 because Domain was just a counter pick. So I was trying to counter pick again because I'm pretty sure he was going to play Cosmo. So I'm just trying to get the counter pick. Something unique I like about Zodiac tournaments is counter picks are huge in this tournament format.
Yeah, and I know the main Cyber Dragon too because you knew you were against Cosmo for this round.
Honestly, the Cyber Dragon was for that idea first, but the more I've playtested with it, I kind of like it a lot by itself, and I'll explain why as I go through it. Because a lot of this was based on theory, and then I've been playing with it more and more, and I've liked a lot of it. I've changed a few things, but I like a lot of it still.
Yeah, it works well with the instant fusion also, and then other things. Go ahead, let's get into the deck from your point of view.
Cool. So starting out, the 7 Monarchs for the trade-in is the 3 Aether, 1 Thestalos, and the triple Erebus. I like this monster lineup a lot because Erebus honestly acts as your trade-in fodder for the entire game. A lot of times you hit it, you can kind of keep pitching for it and adding it back, and sometimes you want to hold on to it. Like in my top 4th match, I pitched the Erebus, the Thestalos first, or the top 8, I don't remember which one, because I needed Erebus for the Cosmo play. But usually you keep reusing him. That's why the trade-ins work in this build. I went with 2 Krause, 1 Majesty King because I like having the searchable Floodgate. Krause is really good for getting the deck going, but once it's going, a lot of the time it's kind of hard to stop already. So it's kind of just that in-between trap and let things keep pushing that way. Onto the 1 main Cyber Dragon. Mostly I was playing Cosmos, but after I kept playtesting, the combo with the instant fusion to make first turn affinities is really good. And there's a lot of nifty little plays you can kind of set yourself up with actually Mithra in case they have like Warning or Strike or something like that. You can still put a body on the board after the fact because there's that token on their side of the field if they stop some of your plays. There's some kind of cool little interaction I've learned playing this more and more.
So you can Mithra even after you like make Infinity, huh?
You can't. Yeah, you can after that. Yeah, after you do that, you can get your Mithra on the board and start doing some cool combos that way. So that's kind of like I was running 3 Mithras in the Domain build, and I wanted to have a little edge against Cosmos and Crucius playing, but also wanted to keep the balance of still being able to play in case he doesn't pick Cosmo. And then once I was toying with this at work, I kind of figured out some cool combos. It worked out really well, actually. I didn't get to draw it, but like after playtesting, it's really cool little tech, especially going to Providence. Some ideas for extra deck Monarchs. 3 Quantum Red layer. I don't like the blue layer. Something I'm big on is not having dead draws, and something I actually was watching Lolly talk about, kind of expanding your mind on this deck. Don't base your deck with the whole Brilliant Engine's kind of like a crutch that's kind of a hit or miss. So I don't like dead cards like blue layer or things like that. So the 3 work great. Get your engine going. It's all you really need in my opinion because they keep looping themselves out, but works really well. 2 Mithra, probably my favorite one. I don't like the Squires because they're too susceptible to negation, and it kind of just stops your turn there. So as you see in my build, there's a lot of other ways to get your summons off consistently. That's it for the monsters. Onto the spells. Instant Fusion for the utility. I ran, you'll see later, the Panzer Dragon to kind of combo with the 5-star so I can get my 5-star going in case I don't hit Monarchs to play. And I also ran Norden. Norden comes up a lot of times mid-game where you can revive the Mithra and get another tribute that turn if you ever fall behind. So it's kind of a cool little play to get 2 tributes on the board and then be able to tribute off again mid to late game. 3 Panth, 3 Tenacity. Went with 2 trade-ins in this build, ran 3 in Domain. I might bump it to 3 in this one, still testing that around. Again, you see the 7, Erebus is the best one to go with that. Upstart Goblin, Frost Blast is amazing. I don't know why more people aren't maining it. It's really good for like a lot of times you have plays where you don't want to dump anything else, so it's a free dump and free pop. Because you don't always have ways to get too many primes loaded, or you just want to have 2 primes in grave, 1 outside of graves, how I've played this deck. 3 Stormforce, 3 Return, standard. I went with 3 domain in this build, even though it's not a domain build, because I really like being able to search when I need to, and also getting Beatrice going, or I ran Photon Bouncer to get them early games is really strong in a lot of matchups. So I still like 3, honestly, in this build. I might bump to 2, drop it down, but at least 2 in this deck I'm really happy with.
So how does it help Beatrice by making the Monarch a 6?
You make the Aether a 6.
And then you summon Krause, right?
Then you summon your Krause, you pop off like a set prime or domain and return, and then you use 2 free draws still, you make Beatrice. So you're completely loaded grave at that point with whatever you want. Or you just make or something that's really good at locking if you know what you're playing against. Bouncer's really good versus Cosmo, because based on the ruling of since they activate on the field, they resolve on the field, so you can gate their tag out and things like that.
Nice.
So that was just, again, the theory behind that one. And then the 3 prime and warning's too good not to play, in my opinion. So that's just kind of how I feel on that card. So that's the main deck right there. 40 cards, obviously, especially with a little bit of turbo, as you see in a lot of my builds. Going to the side deck next. Mega Caius, going second, want another card for trade-in. Thestalos loses value going second, so I wanted to have it. That's pretty much its main purpose there. Second Majesty Fiend when it needs to come up versus like Cosmos, things like that's really good. Cyber Dragon, I also cited the core, you'll see in a second. Basically, if you make first turn Beatrice, you can dump the core, and then if they out Beatrice, you can just make a Chimera Tech versus Cosmos, things like that. That was my theory behind that. Along with the same idea with having the ability to hit Infinity turn 1. 2 Artifact Lancia, it's a card to draw into versus Fire King Cosmo with Max C, so it's a good way to stop their turn outright. So I really like the card. Also, it's a 1 tribute, so again, if you have return, you can get your turn going sometimes. That's another Monarchs have a problem getting going early on. 3 Max C on the side, I don't like maining it because it's just, I don't think it's that good. It doesn't add anything to combos. It's good if you know what you're playing against, but it also can be very lackluster. I'd rather have a most consistent deck game 1 and then be able to side deck properly game 2 and 3. That's how I build a lot of my theories on the game right now. Like I already went over core, so Fader, just protect me from being OTK'd. Good thing to draw off Maxi. If you're playing Maxi, you need cards to draw off of it. Second Chimera Tech, because I side a lot of ways to get the Cyber Dragon. Galaxy Cyclone, another card I can dump off Beatrice to get value. Also, it has value drawn for popping background and then being able to pop Mask and Restricts and things like that. So I really like Galaxy Cyclone as a searchable kind of pseudo out to Mask and Restrict. That's really what I was losing to in like the mini test I was able to get. 2 Twin Twisties because they're really good. And then the Solemn Scolding for going first. If I draw it, it's really good. It's pretty much the whole thing. 15 right there. Extra deck, I played the Barboroid because in case they wanted to like pop my Cyber Dragon Nova. Again, Nova can also revive the Cyber Dragons and get like keep going with plays that way too. The 1 Chimera Tech, the Panzer and the Norden, I went over that. Hope Harbinger, that's how you out the Raid Raptor guy. It's also really good versus Pen. Bulk, Gaia Charger, Bouncer I went over. Beatrice, Infinity Combo. Wind up Zenmayo, Adreus, Artifact Durandals. A lot of times with Instant Fusion, sometimes you have to make it turn 1. It's still really good just to make turn 1. And Shark Fortress.
So do you play Adreus over Pallades because it's like a permanent answer to Restrict?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, honestly, with Pleiades, it's really good, but I just couldn't find room for it. I thought other cards were just better in the scenarios I need them in, because a lot of times you only can make Pallades using the either Instant Fusion Prime or 2 Prime. I'd rather have a hard answer to problem cards, and I think Balancer is honestly really good turn 1. I'd rather have that in my extra deck as an option if I open up like a way to go Domain Aether and lock out a deck versus something that I still have other outs to do things against.
All right, and let's go ahead